Hello and welcome to today's live. It is ADHD Awareness Month, and today is the last day of week 3 of ADHD Awareness Month. So this week we have been looking at ADHD in the workplace, and we've had some really good talks, webinars from a few members of the ADHD Advocate team. Alex did a Manage Your Manager yesterday. So if anyone hasn't had a chance to have a look at that, do have a look at our recording of that on YouTube. Also, we had Tina Squire talking about navigating ADHD in the workplace. And then earlier this week, I talked about navigating RSD in the workplace, which is a real doozy. RSD, rejection sensitive dysphoria. We will be talking about that a little bit today because we're going to be talking about applying for jobs when you have ADHD. So I was meant to have someone on, Mark Allen, who was going to speak to us about a book that should be coming out, hopefully. But we're not going to be doing that today, I'm afraid. But we'll definitely be letting people know about that when it comes out, because yes, when it comes to applying for jobs with ADHD, there are many things that get in the way for us. Anything that's to do with an application, right? Job application, ADHDers will generally shudder in fear and dread, very much that fear of boredom. We are not good with admin. We're definitely not good with administrative type of tasks, particularly job applications, because it's not just about filling out a form. We are needing to promote ourselves. And as we talked about earlier this week, we had Jonathan Musana on Monday, where we talked about fulfilling your potential with ADHD. And we touched upon the fact that with ADHD, due to RSD, we are not very good at advocating for ourselves. We're not very good at pushing ourselves forward. And that's mostly because of our rejection sensitive dysphoria. We're very good in the background. Our visibility, though, obviously, a lot of people don't know how hard we're doing it, or how much we're contributing, or how we've actually managed to move the dial. We don't tend to kind of, sing and dance about it. So, it's not known. And because we are too concerned about being rejected, we don't like to kind of make it known in case we don't get the result that we feel we're entitled to, that it's justified, that we deserve. So better to not know, right? Better to not ask, not put it on the table, and never know. Because once we do know, that causes that other problem in the workplace, where now you've asked for what you want and people obviously not recognizing you, not on the same page. And that for an ADHD can be extremely unmotivating. And at that point, a lot of ADHDers will leave the workplace if they feel that their efforts aren't being recognized and that it's not fair. If they see their peers being promoted over them, when in circumstances where they've done more, contributed more, but just not been as visible about it, that's when ADHDers get very disheartened, and they start to lose faith. They start to lose trust. And when an ADHDer loses trust, right, in their managers, in their workplace, the organization, right, those values are going to misalign. And that's basically a bit of a, it's basically quite often the end for that ADHD in that workplace. It's very hard to win back that faith. It can be done, definitely, but yeah, it's really important to keep that communication open, and coaching can really help with that. Definitely in terms of role playing crucial conversations and making sure that the value is known and that they're being clear on, developmental kind of processes that they want to follow in order to stay engaged. So back to applying for jobs. Yes. It's so difficult for ADHDers. Like I said, the application process, it's quite often quite admin heavy. ADHDs as well, maybe logging into various portals. I've had a few clients that have applied for graduate jobs, and yeah, it's quite a grueling process. You've got to kind of make sure you remember all the deadlines. Quite often, you've missed a deadline for an application. And that can be very confronting for an ADHD, because when they go to look at the jobs at the graduate positions, for instance, and they've missed all the deadlines, it's just going to reinforce that narrative of, failure basically. And why try? So it's that confronting the reality issue. So better just not to do, but as we know, that's not going to get anyone anywhere. So in coaching, it's very good actually when we've got ADHDs applying for jobs. We're able to help them get perspective. We're able to hold them to account, make sure that they're taking action to move themselves forward. So, I mean, I've had some sessions with ADHDers where they're like applying for a retail, like supermarket job. And I actually had to kind of sit there while the ADHD went through that application online. And it was crazy. The amount of questions, the nature of the questions, when you're looking at the nature of the job that they're going for and the pay that they're getting, is absolutely shocking. There is no way that ADHD or any ADHD, I think, would have been able to go the distance and finish that application form. There are so many barriers in our way in this application process, and the body double is really helpful to kind of try and reduce that pain. I mean, we did it 2 nights ago, I think it was, for the Access to Work application session. Again, applying for help to access work or to stay in your job. We run these monthly Access to Work application sessions. And I just found that they have actually changed the Access to Work application form. So what I thought we could do in half an hour with the people that joined, we were over time. So again, Access to Work, like a lot of places where, you got to try and get funding. There's quite a few barriers in the way, and it seems that those barriers have unfortunately increased. So on that note, if you are looking to apply for Access to Work, do join, register for one of our events on our website, www.theadhdadvocate.com, and come along, because again, that Access to Work application form, even before, was really difficult for ADHDers to do, but now it's even worse. It's longer. And so do come along to that. Our next one is next month. So other reasons why applying for jobs for ADHD, the choice, which job do I go for? Some ADHDers don't even know what they want because they don't know themselves. And we see that a lot in coaching. And so that's why the life coaching element of ADHD coaching is important, to help that ADHD find out more about their strengths. What are their strengths? What are their values? Now, values are really important when it comes to jobs, when it comes to careers. They are very much make or break when it comes to ADHD in work all the time. Every time we're coaching, and if there's a disgruntled ADHD, I can tell you, there's an out of alignment of values. There's always values out of alignment. Very interesting. So much better to be able to set yourself up to succeed in your job by being proactive, by determining what your values are, and then, looking through that lens when you're looking for jobs. Also, particularly when you're in interviews, right? And kind of, because if you're working for that particular person, kind of getting a read of them as well, and making sure that that person, that their values align with yours. The more that they do, the more likely you will succeed in that job, as well as what you actually do in that job. If you're working for, say, a company that produces some kind of product or some kind of service that you don't believe in, that's going to be a problem, because authenticity is very important for ADHDers, right? We already feel like imposter syndromes. We have imposter syndrome in the workplace. But if you're having to, promote a product that you don't agree with, or a service that's, again, not in alignment, you're very much going to feel, like a massive imposter, and you're not going to be able to perform very well. And you're not going to get job satisfaction either. So you want a job that plays to your strengths. And if you haven't done the VIA character test, signature strength test, have a go at that. It's really good online. I'll put a link to it in the comment section. But make sure as much as possible that you are able to leverage your signature strengths, and that your values are going to align with the organization and the people that you work with. Very, very important. Environment, is also very important for us in terms of whether we thrive, because, maybe an open plan environment's going to be too sensorily, disturbing for you. Perhaps, if everyone's kind of working from home and there's not many people in the office, you're not going to get as much energy that you need in a workplace environment to stay motivated. A lot of ADHDers do feed off connection. And if your workplace doesn't have many people in it, or they're people that aren't very invested and, just kind of go home straight away, and it can make the ADHD lose interest and engagement. So yeah, lots of things to think about, guys, when you're applying for a job. It's really, the more you set yourself up to succeed by knowing who you are, in particular, your strengths, your values, knowing your ADHD needs, right? To make sure that those needs are more likely to be met in that particular workplace environment, the more likely you're going to enjoy that job, the more likely that you're going to be able to operate in your area of unique brilliance and thrive and really add value to that organization. So yes, very important that we take the time, ADHDers, to learn more about who you are and the ADHD kind of workplace barriers that are in your way. Interviews are another thing that we don't really have a lot of time to speak about today, that might have to wait until next year's ADHD Awareness Month. But make sure as well with interviews, for instance, if you've got something like dyslexia as well, or even just with ADHD, because we've got weak working memories, ask for reasonable adjustments in the interviews, particularly if you're going for some kind of consultancy, technical kind of consultancy job, where you might have to kind of work out math problems, mental problems. If you need to have paper and pen to be able to do that, then you should be able to ask for that to happen. Also with your interviews, because I've had this with clients before, make sure that you're not rushed to the interview. Make sure you've got enough time, that you've eaten. Some of these interviews are like marathons. And remember, ADHDers, we're sprinters, not marathon runners. So again, we want to make sure there's margin. We want to make sure that we're well fed and watered, that perhaps, we've got water in the actual interview. Also, if the interview is quite a long one, and it's kind of every task things back to back, you should be entitled to getting some, rest breaks. Ask to kind of maybe break it up so that you can kind of move, get out of there, go to the bathroom, maybe have a snack or something like that, and then come back again. So just think about those things that maybe in previous interviews that got in the way, and see whether you can ask for reasonable adjustment for future interviews. So yeah, there's a lot to think about. Particularly interviews are very triggering because you're being judged in real time. And I mean, some ADHDers rise to the occasion, particularly the ones that go into sales. They love to kind of talk it up, but we have to be mindful we don't over talk as well. So yeah, there is a lot to think about. Now, it's not easy to do on your own. What we do at the ADHD Advocate, we do coach people when it comes to applying for jobs and also getting through interviews. And we've gotten quite a few ADHDers some really good jobs, actually, and some promotions through kind of role plays in coaching, but getting them to really set them up to succeed in the job, because through coaching, they've become really clear, on what they want and need in a job to stay motivated, to do their best. So yeah, it's coaching is fantastic, empowering to set you up to succeed in your career. So do get in touch if you want to find out a bit more about that. And yeah, we can happy to have a chat with you. We've got different coaches on the website and that do free intro calls. So check out that. And yeah, I'll put that link onto that signature strength test for you to maybe have a go at this weekend. Next week, do join us. It's our final week. Because we've got the ADHD Coaching Summit on the 30th and the 31st, the week after. But week 4, we will be doing ADHD in families and friendships. So join us next week. But have a great rest of the weekend, and we will see you on Monday. Thanks.